Season 2 of Love Me Before You Die picks up where the first season left off, with Jean, our protagonist, engrossed in a drawing. He narrates, describing a young girl named Makoto contemplating suicide from a rooftop. A handsome teacher intervenes, captivating Makoto with his presence. This chance encounter ignites a whirlwind of emotions, setting the stage for a complex and evolving relationship. Makoto, initially withdrawn, gradually blossoms, forging meaningful friendships. Her life takes an unexpected turn as she and Jean fall in love and eventually marry. They build a life together, blessed with 2 children, and even win the lottery, seemingly achieving the quintessential happily ever after. Years later, we find Jean and Makoto on the rooftop where their story began. Jean, lost in his own artistic pursuits, is interrupted by Makoto's arrival. Their conversation reveals a deeper undercurrent of their relationship, hinting at unspoken feelings and lingering secrets.
Mikoto questions Jean's artistic endeavors, suggesting a touch of escapism in his creations. Jean, in turn, expresses his struggle to quit smoking, revealing an inner turmoil he struggles to confront. Their dialogue subtly underscores the complexities of their long-term bond, hinting at the inevitable changes and challenges faced by even the most seemingly perfect couples.
As their conversation unfolds, Makoto confides in Jean about her art assignment to paint a scene that evokes a powerful memory. Jean playfully suggests he could be her model, but Makoto declines, opting to paint the scene of their first encounter. Their exchange reveals a deeper layer of their past, hinting at unspoken emotions and perhaps even a hint of regret. Makoto's subsequent revelation about her childhood of being lost and alone in a forest, yearning for companionship deeply affects Jean. While Makoto dismisses the significance of her confession, Jean finds himself strangely moved, recognizing a profound connection to her past. Their intimate moment is abruptly interrupted by Makoto's classmate, who mistakenly believes Jean is proposing. The ensuing chaos, fueled by misunderstanding and playful teasing, inadvertently leads to a deeper exploration of their feelings. Jean, in a moment of impulsive boldness, unexpectedly proposes to Makoto, much to her initial shock and dismay. The incident, though initially unsettling, provides an opportunity for them to confront their unspoken emotions. Jean, realizing his actions might have crossed a line, assures Makoto he was merely joking. However, the incident serves as a catalyst, forcing them to acknowledge the intensity of their feelings and the delicate balance of their relationship. As their conversation continues, Makoto reveals her discomfort with Jean's nickname for her, JK. She expresses her jealousy, feeling overshadowed by the attention Jean gives to other girls. Jean, in an attempt to alleviate her concerns, explains the true meaning behind the nickname, a playful abbreviation for cute without joking. He further reveals that his limited gift-giving and unconventional gestures were not a reflection of his affection but rather a conscious effort to protect their relationship from the scrutiny of others. He confesses that his desire to call her JK was a constant reminder to himself to respect her boundaries and maintain a sense of propriety given her age. Makoto, deeply touched by his vulnerability, realizes that Jean's actions were born from a place of love and consideration. Their conversation deepens, revealing a newfound understanding and intimacy. The episode concludes with a series of intriguing cliffhangers. Jean, unable to resist the temptation, keeps Makoto's necktie as a memento. He seeks solace at his favorite eatery, where he encounters a young boy carrying a painting of Makoto. The boy, revealed to be Makoto's long-lost brother, carries a painting depicting Makoto alongside Jean, hinting at a hidden connection and a possible shared history. With a young man standing nervously in front of Jin at the cafe, we learn this is Makoto's brother, Kazuma. Jin presents him with Makoto's painting, conveying his longing for her. The cafe owner, sensing a connection, inquires about their prior acquaintance. Kazuma explains he works outside the city and rarely visits, but Jin interrupts, implying there's more to the story. Makoto's sudden arrival throws them into a panic. Jin hastily hides Kazuma behind food bags. Makoto questions Jin about his companion, and he introduces him as a friend. Suspicious, Makoto senses an undercurrent of tension. Later, Jin and Kazuma engage in a private conversation. Kazuma reveals he overheard Makoto's confession to Jin at the end of the previous season. He understood Makoto's feelings for Jin. Jin explains that Makoto had specifically asked him not to listen, considering it inappropriate for a teacher to overhear such personal matters. Kazuma, perplexed, inquires about Jin's feelings for Makoto. Jin, acknowledging his past confession, admits to a lingering connection. The conversation shifts to a more playful, almost antagonistic tone. Kazuma, pretending to be Makoto's overprotective brother, threatens Jin with dire consequences for any mistreatment of his sister. Jin, in jest, counters with playful jabs about Kazuma's infrequent visits and his inability to see Makoto as often as Jin can. Kazuma then reveals a shocking twist. He recorded Makoto's confession. He admits to not understanding his own actions. Jin, in a surprising move, suggests reciprocating by recording his own response to Makoto's confession, emphasizing the privacy of this intimate exchange. The next day, Jin presents the recorded confession to Makoto. Kazuma, observing from a distance, becomes increasingly anxious. He doesn't want Makoto to hear Jin's response, fearing it might not be genuine. Suddenly, Kazuma intervenes, accusing Jin of playing games and urging Makoto not to trust his words. He snatches the recorder, declaring Jin's affections to be insincere. The scene then shifts to Makoto reflecting on her birthday. She reveals a past of subdued celebrations, stemming from a childhood memory of a lonely birthday when her parents were unexpectedly called away due to a family emergency. Jin arrives, wishing her a belated happy birthday. He explains that he considers his day to be ongoing due to his irregular sleep schedule. Makoto, initially indifferent, opens up about her past birthdays and her current ambivalence towards the occasion. Jin insists on celebrating and presents her with a bouquet of symbolizing a peaceful and unconventional celebration. He then leads her to a surprise birthday party organized by Kazuma, the restaurant owner, and his wife. Overwhelmed by the unexpected celebration, Makoto becomes emotional. Memories of her childhood, both happy and sad, flood her mind. The presence of her brother, who also brings her cakes, adds to her emotional turmoil. As the celebration continues, Makoto indulges in the abundance of cake, much to Jin's concern. He warns her about the dangers of excessive sugar, but she insists on enjoying the fruits of everyone's effort. Jin, in a playful attempt to distract her, tries to feed her a strawberry. Makoto, playfully resisting, ultimately succumbs to his playful teasing. The episode concludes with this light-hearted moment. Jin felt a chill, despite the summer heat. "You brought me here," he said, his voice tight, "to this empty field? Something is wrong." Makoto remained silent, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "There are only two possibilities," Jin continued. "You want to confess your love, or you want to kill me." Makoto finally looked at him, her eyes cold. "If I had to choose," she said, "I'd choose the second." "It seems you still don't know about the rumor," Makoto said, her voice laced with a strange mixture of sadness and anger. "What rumor?" Jin demanded. Makoto hesitated. "I think you'll be very angry." The new school year had begun, and the air was thick with gossip. "Who's dating who?" Whispers filled the classroom. Jin felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "You brought me to this desolate place," he said, "and this is all you have to say? Did people not know about us?" Makoto shook her head. "You're misunderstanding." In a flashback, Makoto spoke with Kazuma. Two classmates approached them. "Is he your boyfriend?" one of them asked, pointing at Kazuma. "You always wear that necklace," the other chimed in. "Did your boyfriend give it to you?" Back in the present, Jin's anger flared. "Why are Kazuma and you spreading these rumors?" he demanded. Makoto looked genuinely surprised. "I was shocked to hear about it too," she explained. "I went to the summer festival with Kazuma, and a few days ago, we went to see the cherry blossoms. Someone must have seen us." "You and Kazuma are spreading rumors?" Jin scoffed. "Won't you have any problems?" Makoto sighed. "The rumor is only within our class. No one in the other schools knows." Jin scoffed. "If someone knew we were dating, it would have spread like wildfire throughout the school." Makoto shook her head vehemently. "But we're not dating. Don't try to make it a reality." "Until people know about us," Jin said, "there's no need to worry." He paused. "What did Kazuma say?" Makoto looked away. "I don't think he knows about the rumor yet." Jin placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, it'll blow over soon." Days passed, but the rumors persisted. Makoto felt a pang of guilt. Jin doesn't care, she thought, and that's what hurts the most. Then, the same two girls approached them. "We found out Kazuma isn't your boyfriend," one of them said. "Are you interested in double suicide?" Makoto asked abruptly, startling Jin. "Not at all," he replied, "though I was once." "Why are you hiding? Whenever I try to talk to you, you disappear. Are you shy of me?" Makoto hesitated. "If someone saw us together." The flashback returned. "Who gave you the necklace?" one of the girls pressed. "Did Jin give it to you? Do you like him?" Makoto remained silent. "Those girls asked me a lot of questions," Makoto said in the present. "Who are they?" Jin asked. "And how did they know?" "They're the same two girls who were on the terrace that day," Makoto replied. "What if people find out about us?" she whispered. "We might have no choice but to commit suicide." "How extreme do you think?" Jin exclaimed. "I'm not thinking extreme," Makoto insisted. "Look at Romeo and Juliet. There are many examples. I'm sure those girls are just trying to trouble me," Jin said. "Until you give them a proper answer, they have no proof." But if this gets out, I'll lose my job tomorrow. You should think about other things besides your job, Makoto said. Will you marry me then? Jin asked. If you don't have a job, Makoto replied, I can't marry you. Suddenly, the girls returned. Now tell me, one of them said to Jin, Makoto is your girlfriend, right? Makoto, hidden from view, held her breath. She wants to double suicide, Jin blurted out. What's the best way to do it? The girls stared at him in disbelief. Are you crazy? One of them exclaimed. What are you saying? Jin looked confused. You were flirting with Makoto on the terrace, the girl explained. We thought you were her boyfriend. We must have made a mistake. We're so sorry. Makoto, watching from the shadows, felt a mix of relief and disappointment. Their relationship, she realized, was built on a foundation of secrecy and fear. They were two distant stars, forever reaching for each other, yet forever separated by the vast expanse of their circumstances.